So let's get into this. So I know this seems rather bizarre and weird and coming out of nowhere, but I will say, just to start, like, this is my last interaction with Jorobe that I will ever have. After today, I've lost complete respect for the guy. So, and the reason is because of some DMs that one of my mods in my Discord and hit one of his mods in his Discord, one of his only mods, one of his, I would assume somehow close in some capacity, a conversation that they had and my mod shared with me. To pretext the situation with me and Jorobe, we have a history that, of course, is negative, right? And a history where I would understand why he may dislike me, to be honest with you. I don't take it personally because I understand. A lot of people dislike me. A lot of people, I come off very strong. I don't think that I necessarily convey my true self, or I think I convey my true self, but I don't think that I convey, I suppose, the empathy or even the intelligence that I have. I'm kind of like a goofy, aggressive, bold, blunt individual. And some people are turned off by that, and that's completely understandable. And Jorobe is an individual who I would say is rather sensitive, and that's not really an insult. That's just Jorobe. Now, I started, we both started the app, whatever. We both were not very big many, many months ago. He used to do horrible takes. People argue the same with me, and that's fair. He used to have very horrible, overly politically correct takes. People make the argument that I have used to have very, very, very conservative takes. It's fair assessments. I didn't particularly care for the guy. I contested something he said at one point. He blocked me, because he's sensitive. Life rolls on. It's fine. As of recently, Jorobe seems to be doing better, so I started to dislike him less. He has some decent takes. I would say that he's still pandering, but whatever. But I started to like, okay, this guy's not so bad. We just both have different perspectives on the world. So I've been trying to slowly reach out to him, right? I actually bought the shirt of his. I made some goofy TikToks. I tried to engage with him. And you want to know what? Let's be completely honest. The way that I tried to engage with Jorobe may have come off as antagonistic, okay? There's a few different instances. For one, when I saw his YouTube, I had people go on there and like comment Papa X Jorobe as like a, Papa X Jorobe, like almost like a lover's quarrel kind of thing. That was the joke. But again, I see how he could see that as antagonistic. I did the same thing when we were live on Ryan Beard's charity stream. I could see again why that's antagonistic, right? At the time, I didn't think very much of it, but reflecting, you could totally understand. And then we had a situation that even goes as far, well, actually, before that, when he got banned, though, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, it's bullshit, and this is actually reflected right here. Notice you got banned, bro. I know we didn't see eye to eye, but you got fucked. Let me know if there's anything I could do to help, right? So I expressed that to him. He didn't respond, which is totally understandable. My understanding is apparently a few people went to his live stream and they even said that he actually mentioned me in a positive light. I was like, oh, that's nice. So yeah, one of the ways though I was antagonistic is people have seen this on TikTok. You can see it right here. Is I have this video right here, where it's like I DM this to Jorobe because a video before this was like, hey guys, should I DM this to Jorobe? Somebody had actually made a silly video about it. Actually, I might be able to find it. Oh, I guess I can't find it. But they made a silly video about how me and Jorobe, like I did this to. It was weird. It was so funny though. They made like a joking video. For context, I could actually find it. So I DM'd that to him. Let's see if we can quickly find this. I have difficulty finding things. I know that sounds very silly, but I tend to. Here we go. So somebody made this video. So he made this video, right? It's about how my fans make fun of Joe. So I did the trend. I asked people if they wanted me to do it. I did. So I sent this whole thing to Jorobe, and I'll just show you. This is the literal video inside of his thing. Right? So in hindsight, you can definitely make the argument that the way that I've been trying to extend like a hand to Jorobe is rather antagonistic. Now I'm going to say I didn't see it that way, but like I'm not a complete moron upon reflection, of course. So I understand why Jorobe doesn't like me. I totally get it, right? But the problem is that the interaction between him and his mods and my mods were rather disgusting to me, and I don't use that word lightly. So this is one of my mods. This is one of his mods. Now, for context, back here, I have proof that this is his mod in his server. He's a moderator in Jorobe server. Here's Jorobe server. Here's the picture of him right there. Here's the picture. Here's everything. This isn't meant to dox in any capacity, but this is just objective proof that this is a mod. And not only is it a mod, but it's one of his few mods. He has 2 moderators, so it's one of his 2 moderators. So I would imagine that this is rather serious, right? Okay. So now this individual came to me. He's like, "Oh, Papa, I was buttering him up. I said some things I didn't necessarily agree with. Whatever, fine. I don't care if you necessarily do." So, but this is the conversation that the two of them had, and we're gonna completely dissect it. And we have no reason not to think that this person was reflecting what Jorobe says. So, this is my mod. He says, "Hey, I'm not going to lie. I'm from Papa Gut server, but I support Jorobe," which, by the way, is fine. We speak in a generally endearing context outside of yesterday, because yesterday Jorobe decided to completely ban all mentions of me in the Discord and in the server. In Jorobe's defense, apparently, unbeknownst to me, and despite the fact that I was said, do not harass Jorobe, some of my followers, little shitty followers, decided to harass the shit out of Jorobe. So again, I can understand why he doesn't like me. We could totally understand completely, and that's just providing pure context. This isn't. I'm not sitting here making a "oh, woe is me" kind of a thing. All right. So I just like to listen to both sides. I don't condone raiding. I'm sorry you feel I did something ban-worthy. So I'm going to assume somebody raided him to some capacity. Whether they, you guys may have thought it was like a joke or not, I told you not to. So anyway, this person says, "It's fine, just other people are brigading." But I'm going to assume, let's be honest. You think it's just my fans going after Jorobe? Jorobe is a little bit of the butt end of a joke. So there's more than that, that going after him. I'm sure Nick Foster jokes fans and other people's fans. And I'm not saying Nick Foster condones any of it. I'm just saying. To suggest that I was the epicenter for it is ridiculous. Those people don't particularly care for Jorobe, or they just like to meme, like to troll. Anyway, I was a Papa fan too, but after I got off a call with John and heard about how he won't stop sending him graphic sexual content. Now this is complete emphatic bullshit. So this is the first thing. This is horseshit. I don't send Jorobe graphic sexual content. I sent him that one video before of that one. I literally just showed you the DMs. There's 2 DMs to Jorobe. I think I sent one before that was like, "Hey, we should talk about something," but it was completely benign. And when he didn't respond, I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'll unsend it." But this has nothing to do. I never sent him graphic sexual content. So that just proves that Jorobe is being exaggeratory to try to slander my name to people. Now, this person used to be a follower of mine, and they no longer are. That's fair. But we can only assume it's because Jorobe is flat out lying and misrepresenting myself. So that's slanderous and frankly pathetic, Jorobe. And John doesn't want to block him because then it just gives him attention. I don't know what that means. He's already blocked me. This makes no fucking sense. Which is what he wants. This idea that I want attention is rather ridiculous, and I'm gonna be I have no real reason to gain attention. This to me stems from this idea that Jorobe thinks that he's hot shit because he's gotten 4.5 million followers. This to me shows that Jorobe thinks that every interaction that he has with somebody that's smaller than him must simply be for attention, and not because he is a dickhead that has still bad takes, in my opinion. Right? This shows how full of himself he is. Now, reflect that versus myself, who I sit down and I engage in conversations. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a small content creator of 30 or 40,000, and we had a very nice conversation about systemic racism and whether you can be racist towards white people. I don't think highly of myself. I have 1.4 million followers, and I engage with very small accounts because I have no problem. I like the talk, I like the conversation, I like the experience. Jorobe is hypersensitive and focused on clout. That's the difference between the two of us. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, again, for context, they said that they were fibbing a little bit, but maybe it does make sense to them. That's fair. And he was telling me, yeah, it's real easy to be pedophilia is bad. Now, this one really gets me because this, to me, diminishes completely the entire Gemini situation 100%. Okay? This is ridiculous. Are you kidding? It's easy to go against pedophilia. Now, there's a few problems I have with that. Let's first talk about the fact that if it's so easy to go against pedophiles, let's bring it back to there was a 20-year-old woman who was making bizarre videos, basically that were suggestive of grooming towards 15-year-old boys on this app, right? And I didn't know about it until somebody brought to light a situation, and I made a TikTok on it, where apparently somebody, Baythick, I think it was, messaged Jorobe saying, hey, this is a problem. Can you speak about it? Right? Now, he took a week. That was a week ago. It took him over a week to even talk about it, right? Which is bizarre that it would take you so long to talk about somebody who's grooming children. Right now, you may ask, well, Papa, why didn't you talk about it? I didn't know about it until the Jorobe incident, and so I flamed Jorobe for it, and I assumed he would put it up, and he finally did, right? Now, take that back to this situation. The reason I assumed originally Jorobe didn't talk about Gemini Official was simply because I covered it, and he figured, well, there's not much more context I can provide. But now, based on all this information, it seems more like he simply doesn't give a shit at all. Because you know what? It's not easy to cover the Gemini situation. A lot of large content creators like Mr. Bruno and others have been having their videos taken down, myself included, when they talk about against child predators. It's weird. So, and I'm going to assume in this point, because frankly, this is all that Jorobe's left based on what he's provided, he's not going to really go after predators because it's not something that TikTok likes. And he's super infatuated with his views because he goes off constantly about how he thinks he's shadow banned. Right? I find it bizarre that you have the time to make a vegan teacher video every other fucking video, but you simply couldn't sit here and go, wow, there's a child predator on this app who's still verified, and it's pathetic and it's disgusting. You have big content creators like Jonathan Moss even saying, this is ridiculous, okay? They don't care about their clout. They just find it insane that this is happening. And yet you're still sitting here telling me and I guess everyone else that it's so easy to rail against pedophilia when we've achieved almost nothing. Despite, what, a month or so of shit like this? What did we achieve? He went private. He talked himself into a corner. TikTok doesn't give a shit. He's not banned. He doesn't have any removal of his fucking whatever the fuck verifications. Nothing. We've got nothing. But it's so fucking easy to take this stance. Right? I don't understand. I really don't understand. Like, this is just ridiculous. This is so petty. This doesn't matter about our personal interactions. It doesn't matter if I dislike or like Joe. And frankly, I liked him before, but at this point, I very much dislike him to a point where they will never be able to be reversed, honestly. But it doesn't matter. This is about something else. This isn't about us. It's about people who were predatorized and victimized by somebody who has set the stage to be somebody who's a predator. Maybe not exclusively of young children, but just of women in general. But we don't fucking care. Right? We don't give a shit, right? We would rather rail against somebody that you find uncomfortable than speak truth, which to me suggests that you don't fucking care about the truth. You just care about likes and views. And I find it disgusting. And frankly, I didn't think this before today. I thought that Jorobe and I just were two sides of two sides of the same coin. But, I guess I'm wrong too. Papa missed, huh? Moving forward. And he was telling me, yeah, it's easy to be pedophile. Right, there it is. Yeah, it's really easy to be like pedophile bad. Yeah. Seeing the community he cultivates and how he acts with trans women is really grosses me out. Let's go into that. So, the community I cultivate, I don't really know what that means. I have followers. Everyone has followers. We don't like to talk about it, but people's followers are toxic regardless of which side of the aisle that they're on. Okay? So that, give me a break. People gravitate towards me, so I'm inherently bad based on the people who gravitate towards me, right? And how I act with trans women. I'd really like to know what that means, okay? Because I've been very expressive to my followers that I'm attracted to trans women and some trans men. I've actually been rather open about the fact that I'm attracted to femininity more than men or women per se. Right? But what is it about trans women that you find uncomfortable how I interact? Because I interact with them. There's a trans woman that likes that thought it was fun when I interact and I make lighthearted jokes about it.Maybe it's that person. Maybe it's the video I duetted with Robert Talapi or whatever, where I accidentally labeled a trans woman as a crossdresser because I simply thought that they were in drag, because the way that they were dressed is generally associated with drag. And since I went to their Instagram and their regular profile to find out their gender identity and they didn't have it, I made the assumption based off of the context I had to try to be as politically correct and as sensitive as possible. And then after I mischaracterized them and they came forward about it, I apologized. So I don't know if it's that one. It doesn't really seem to be. Or is it because I defended Danelli because he was making benign facial things and I didn't find the characterization to be fair, right? And maybe you disagree with that. But here's the reality of the situation, right, is that a man got banned for being transphobic because of facial expressions, and yet here we sit where you seem to be taking the perspective of the LGBT community there, but when it comes to children and being predatorized, we don't take their perspective, right? See, I find that rather bizarre. I also find it bizarre that you never outwardly spoke about it. Now, you want to know why? We're not actually done with all the fucking bullshit. You want to know why Jorobe hasn't actively spoken out against anything that I say? Because he's a fucking coward, okay? He's not trying to stay away from me because he doesn't want to give me attention. It's because he's a flat-out coward, and he hides behind the fact that he doesn't want to give me attention to stay away from me. It's his way of justifying his pathetic fucking cowardice. That's the reality of the situation. I'm sorry I'm being very aggressive, but this is something that bothers me quite a bit, because when it comes to child predators, it's not something that I usually am very calmly tempered about. So that's my perspective on that. And to be honest with you, I don't really blame this individual, because frankly, it seems like Jorobe, to an extent, has manipulated that perspective based on his own cowardice. Now, I use the word manipulative not in a harsher, massive... I don't think that Jorobe's a gaslighter, but I do think that Jorobe has presented his perspective in a very disingenuous way that is hyper-biased towards his perspective. That is something we differ in, because I do my best to maintain an unbiased perspective, even when I do not do that at times. Because that's my content. My content is conversation and different perspectives cultivating. And I think that shows strength of character. And I think that your lack of ability to do that, despite the fact that we live in a similar sphere, shows a weakness of character. To be honest, I just follow him for drama. I didn't used to support Joe, but now I'm leaning more towards him. Yep, that's how it is. We all been through those stages, but watching his stream and talking to him one-on-one, I can see that this is really just a nice guy trying to help out the community and the people without a voice. Now, that is probably a fair assignment of Jorobe, frankly, despite how disgusting I find him right now. This is a fair assignment, but what we do establish is that when it comes down to the hard fights, Jorobe won't take them. Let's see. Yes, and it's mostly guys with toxic masculinity who hate on Jorobe. Like, I know that you said you were just kind of saying things to kind of get somewhere, buddy, but that's just that's like such a weird PC take. Yeah, but I'm going to most likely stay in both servers, talk to people with different perspectives. That's fine. By the way, just for context, if you're in Jorobe's server and mine, I don't care. Like, you have your own perspective and I have mine, right? That's fair. You do you, man. You consume both of us. I'm not, this isn't like a four sides. Just saying. I get the dude, don't worry, but Guts fanbase is the ones that leaked his mother's address and leaked his... That's absolutely, completely unsubstantiated. Fuck you, honestly, for even suggesting this. Okay, Guts fanbase? What does that mean? If I didn't exist, they would have done the same thing because they dislike Jorobe. I'm not a rallying cry to hate Jorobe. Okay? People leaked his mother's address, not me. This is another attempt from Jorobe to play the fucking sympathy pity party anti-fucking Papa Gut bullshit. I'm truly sorry that this happened, but this is completely outside of my domain, and to fucking slander my name by trying to associate myself with doxing is fucking disgusting and pathetic, because one thing I've done very much is tell people not to dox people and not to cause harm on other people. Fucking trying to rope me in on this. Fucking pathetic. Oh, I remember that. Okay, and he kept hacking his Among Us game, so clearly in my eyes there was... What the fuck are you talking about? I was hacking Jorobe's Among Us games? When Jorobe was doing his fucking streaming yesterday of Among Us, I was having a fucking conversation about systemic racism and whether you can be racist towards white people. What are you, fucking stupid? How the fuck... I was hacking. Now you're just fucking being stupid and lying. You're a moron. Okay? Jorobe's perspective, by the way, that's his. You're a fucking moron. I'm sorry some trolls were fucking with you, Jorobe, but I was literally in the middle of a conversation about real issues. Because I don't walk away from those things. Fucking ridiculous. The stupidest fucking argument I've ever seen. This is victim complex 101, Jorobe. Anyway... Yes, that makes sense, but hey, also, if you need any help with the server, let me know, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I'll talk to John about it. He doesn't want anybody else. This whole fan base is younger, blah, blah, blah. So he's going to keep it how it is for now, but thank you for your help. If people, blah, 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 I don't give a fuck. You're whatever. It's the same thing twice. Okay, yeah, so that's pretty much that. There's the proof that that's him. Yay, there we go. So that's why Jorobe can go fuck himself. That's why I won't be associating myself with him any longer.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.